So, would you have any questions for me as a blind man? Leave them below in the comments. So a little about my story. How about I do my short real quick, and then I'll tell you a bit more about me. It's that time. Hey, if you're curious about a blind man and what it's like, leave comments, ask me some questions. I will definitely answer them. It is a busy morning for a weekend, and that's very, very weird. My voice is very weird too, huh? How's that? Is that better? So, just goofing off this morning on my walk, filming my long form video for release later this afternoon, and just thought I would drop in and tell all my fans hi, and it's gonna be a longer story later. Check out my newsletter at tokenblindguy.com. It's free and it goes more into depth into me and my music. Different than my long form video, which is funny, but that's how I work. Thanks, love, and peace. Well, there's that. I don't know how long that was. How long do you think that was? Do I have to edit it, or will YouTube take it? Because YouTube will not take any of my shorts that are longer than a minute, because it auto-converts them to videos for some reason. But that's beside the point. So, as I promised, about me. My great-grandmother and my grandmother's brother, so my granduncle, I guess, both had retinitis pigmentosa. And as far as we know, a lot of other people in the family did, but those were the two closest that I knew that had it. So I grew up around blind people, and knowing that it was hereditary, we were prepared and tested. I think the first time that it became obvious was when I was in the Navy. The light sensitivity, which apparently is the first indicator of the RP, came, but it came so subtle, I don't know when it actually started, and I didn't really notice it until hindsight, when I started paying more attention to it. Struggling to see things better at night than other people, having to always wear sunglasses or I'd get a headache, those kind of things. But I went along my merry way for a good while, probably 10 to 14 years, depending on the timing in my head. Oh boy. Let's see if I get my directions right. Okay, right. I have said left there before, but he still understood where I wanted him to go because of hand gestures and my body movement more than anything else. So, sometime in my early 30s is when it became obvious that I was losing my vision. I had a serious mental break where I took medical leave from my work and pretty much vegged out in my house unless my friends took me out or came over and visited. Thankfully, I had friends that did that. I was never at the point where I wanted to end my life, but I was also very much like I didn't want to do anything. And then at some point, I don't know if I just accepted it or if I made a decision, but at the same time or moment, I decided I needed to be closer to family to deal with this, because I didn't want to be a burden on my friends, and I knew my family wouldn't see it as a burden. Looking back, maybe I should have sat down and talked to my friends about it instead of just up and leaving, but it was a decision I made, and so that's the history. That was before I was even diagnosed. For a while, I only stopped driving at night. I drove only when it was daylight, and then at work, I've been there for probably a year, pulled into the same parking lot, was going to the same parking space I parked at for a year, cut too short, hit something. I got out to look at what I hit, and it was a large tree. When you don't know what you hit until you get out to look, that's a problem. So I parked my car. I called work, told them that what had happened. I called my insurance company, and then they came and towed my car to get it repaired. And then I decided I was going to no longer drive anymore. So we took the money from the insurance, paid off my car, and then my stepdad sold the car to a friend of his as a commute car. Since he lived out of town, it was a commute car that he didn't really have to worry too much about. And so I went to a good place, which was nice. And then slowly after that, I went through the process of getting diagnosed, and then I wanted to get into the government program so I could get assistance and all that stuff. So I had to be diagnosed a second time, because apparently UC Berkeley wasn't good enough for them, even though they have one of the best low vision centers in the country. Yeah, the government is really weird about that. Like, I've had to prove so far twice that I'm still blind, even though my degenerative disorder just slowly deteriorates the retina, which is fascinating. When I finally got diagnosed both times, neither of the ophthalmologists were willing to give me a prognosis, which is good because they didn't know. The only thing they said was, more than likely it'll just continue to slowly degenerate at the same process it has, because that's common. There was a likelihood that it could stop, and there was a likelihood that it could get worse faster. There was almost zero likelihood of it ever getting better, which is not surprising. Also, considering that I have nearsightedness and astigmatism, really, really difficult to get me any clear vision with what little I do have out of my left eye. So I just see a fuzzy world. I think the best way I've described it is if you're looking through a frosted window. That's pretty much what I can see, but only out of one eye and only out of some very interesting spots. I do have a clear spot. I don't know if you can see my finger, but I'm looking forward, and I can see my finger, but it disappears there and disappears there, and that tree just attacked me. Well, if you want to know more, leave comments below, ask me questions. If you want to know how I'm independent and I live alone and take care of myself, just ask. I am willing to talk about this, willing to share my experiences and maybe help you with whatever you are vicariously through how I handle it all. With that in mind, do check out my newsletter. I talk about my music, my musings, my days. Comes out Monday and Thursday, and if you actually become a paid subscriber, I have one on Wednesday. I would make most of the Wednesday one free if I could figure out how to use Substack stuff. But again, check out the newsletter, tokenblindguy.com. Thanks, love and peace.